to be merited for Jerusalem.
Amen.
For Brooke Gibson, for Paula Navarez, for Michelle Magnuson, for Miriam's father, for the people of the Ukraine, for Joanna Fletcher, I can see you now, for Jerry Seaman, for Emma Louise Conrad, for H.L. and Betty Munkuski, for Ray's brother-in-law, may his journey be swift, for Berea Wanstaff, for Greg Davis and his family, for people that are suffering in the mudslide, the Philippines, the Midwest, for Russell Kirk, for the people at Fort Hood, for the Naval Base, for Moore, Oklahoma, for Granbury, Texas, for Landon Baker, for David Douglas, Rosalind Body Lease, for Blake Highland, for Noel Cardoza, for Charles David, for Bill Kirk, for Edward Hubson, Natalie Compton, Jackson Belize and Casey Belize, to Levi Lester, to Brendan Givens, to Nadine Freeman. May the merit of our Torah and the merit of the fathers in the Torah be counted unto these people.
Jackson Protka.
And Jackson Protka, yes. And Jackson Protka. Jackson Protka is a kindergartner who is very good friends with us, and my buddy that got killed in the explosion, he was at their house across the street barbecuing when he went over to the fire. And what happened was, the day after we had the anniversary of the explosion, Jackson was riding his skateboard and got run over, and was life flighted to Cook's in Dallas, broken pelvis, bladder, arm, kidneys, kaplunk right over the middle of him, and he's just a little bitty, he's a kindergartner, 6? And so, but he is doing better, he is going to make a recovery, but no brain, I guess it ran right over the middle of him. So, anyway, that was a tragedy after the tragedy. Mourning the tragedy, a tragedy. So, anyway.
The anniversary.
Yeah, the day, yeah. So, yeah, it was a bad deal. And so, we want to lift them up as well. I don't hear it on this end, Chad. Oh, that was actually my phone. Yeah, I can't do nothing about that unless I turn my phone off. But I had a call on my phone. The problem was my son's playing baseball, and my mother was texting me play-by-play. And so John was on my phone.
And you couldn't turn it off.
And I couldn't turn off the texting because I'd have turned off John. And Berea's having some issues there. There she comes. Okay. So that's all right.
I wish.
Here, I'm going to right now.
Okay. So, prayer of the RE.
Are you going forward?
Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and that you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor. That is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all of our sins, and that they should not bring separation between you and us. May it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you, and may you listen to our utterances, open our closed heart to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor as an aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of all of our soul to all of our beings, and may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you revealed your wisdom to the world, shine, May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel, open my eyes, so that I will see wonders from your Torah, because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterance of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, my God, my strength, and my Redeemer.
Amen.
All right.
Byron replied, a couple of modern languages, German, French, a little Spanish, not modern Hebrew or Yiddish. Would be modern Hebrew or Yiddish. Don't read those. I read ancient Hebrew, Tanakh, Greek, Aramaic, Akkadian, Babylonian, Ugaritic, and Ethiopic.
Well, he needs to learn one more. All right. Last week we discussed the movie, and one of the things that was good for me as being able to understand where people are is when we have a roundtable discussion like that, it lets me know where everybody is and where everybody's thinking, because people hone in to things that is where you're at. Does that make sense? So, because that's how your mind is working. So I can tell what level of Torah you're grasping by what you thought or what you read in Kabbalistically to something. You see what I mean? So it gives me a signpost, and I can tell where we're headed, where we're going, who needs to come along faster, those type of things. So it's good to talk, because the oral Torah, through talking, you start working things out, you know, and the principle works just the way on the other side. I learned this with Jeff's death, and another friend of mine that committed suicide. When you think about it, and when it comes out of your mouth, you've thought about it too long. So, in other words, if somebody says, well, I'm just going to kill myself, if they can say it, they've already manifested it in their will and in their thought. And they've thought about it too long. And most of them are going to do it. So that's just a word of wisdom to you. If you're ever in that situation, if somebody ever says that, there's a little truth in everything somebody says. So the same works with Torah. If you've thought about it long enough that it's manifested itself, that it comes out of your mouth, then you're putting it together.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? It works either way. So it's very good to think about it and then say it, because it makes its actuality at that point. All right? Now, what's happening is with the Noga, all right, you have Noga is actually convex. All right? But how does it emanate? In other words, we feel like we're on the outside of everything, because the Noga is the outer rim, right? The Noga is the outer shell. But where is it emanating from? It's emanating from the very core. Because it's emanating from the inside out. We feel like we're on the outside emanating in, but we're not. We're actually, it's concavity. That's the secret of the Noga. It's sometimes convex, sometimes concave. So when we are doing Torah on the outer realm, we're actually emanating from the innermost part of Adam. Does that make sense? It's yes, we're on the outside, but the lights, the light's shining up against the wall, but the candle's in the center of the room.
So is it the thing that is motivating us and creating our desires from the inside?
It's all from the inside of Adam. We think that we're getting it from the outside realm. No, we're getting it from the center. Which changes our whole thinking of where this is coming from. It's coming from the center of Klal Israel itself. There is no Noahide consciousness. There's only Adamic consciousness. The Noga has no consciousness of itself. It's having to come from the center of Adam. So Adam knows that we know, and now we know that Adam knows. So the gig's up. All right? And because and we're going to get into a little bit about this whole thing of knowing Messiah and all this thing and what's going to happen, what's fixing to happen, because it's nothing like we can even imagine going to happen. All right? Because when things start popping up and resurrecting and this and that and the other, it's going to blow everybody's mind. So, although your consciousness is coming from the outside, it is emanating from the inside core of itself. And this is how, when we discuss, we can see where people are. At what point they're connected. So when, the more you start connecting to the center, the more the center is emanating out in you. All right? It's a two-way thing. There's a part of you that's going in, and there's a part of him that's coming out. But it's all just his thought.
It's kind of like a Tzimtzum.
It's a Tzimtzum, yes. So, here's the thing about prophecy. Not prophecy Tanakh. Not Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Daniel. Not that. Here's the thing about prophetic statements. The sages say that prophetic statements are pure klipa. It's pure klipa. So,
Kind of like God told me to tell you.
yeah, God told me to tell you. So, anybody who claims they're a prophet or who says prophetic stuff, especially with the Messiah, it's pure klipa. All right? And it's not if it's going to happen, it's where we are when it happens. All right? That's the biggie. Where are we going to be when it happens? Because we are all a part of it. If it's emanating out from the center thought of the divine mind, and we understand Torah, and we're a part of Torah, then where are we going to be in the divine mind aspect when it does happen, when the flip occurs? All right? What that means? What dimensionality are we going to be in? 3D, 4D, 5D? What's going to be going on? We can't know. We just know here is going to either not be here or we're not going to be here. Here's not going to be here or we're not going to be here. But it's all going to be relative to there. Okay? I know that's kind of a crazy statement, but I know y'all can follow me. Because here is the thing. What are people going to do if the dinosaurs resurrect? Which they will. Now, who is the most famous dinosaur of them all?
Godzilla.
No,
Huh? Good, Russell.
T-Rex.
T-Rex.
Oh, okay.
But, all right. But see, Russell nailed it. Russell nailed it. Y'all are absolutely correct. Right, it's T-Rex.
But he's coming out in either a new movie or a new series.
But what is Godzilla?
He's a
The
T-
consciousness of T-Rex.
So what's Barney?
What's Barney?
I just told her.
Barney is the infantile consciousness. It's all the Nakash. It's all the Nakash. And it's the secret of Leviathan. We all live on the spine, on the tail of Leviathan. That's what this world is. The spine. The spine, the center column of Leviathan. That's why everybody has fascination. Little kids have fascination with Barney. We have all the T-Rex, and everybody wants to go dig up bones of dinosaurs in museums, and we do all that. And we've had this whole, we got shark movies that are dinosaur shark movies, you know. Jurassic Park, Godzilla. We have this fascination, and the giant anaconda movie that eats all the people and all this stuff. What is that? That's the Nakash.
I even saw a video today from Japan of somebody pulling tricks on people dressed up in a dinosaur suit.
Yeah, and the dragon and this and that.
And when they would jump them in the hall, and people would just go.
Is it Nakash consciousness coming
Yes,
out? It's
yes.
kind of trying to push from the backside, trying
Yes.
to push its way in, and
Yes.
like everything else that we were talking about earlier.
So here's the issue. Like Stacy said last week, what about the Holy Servant? So if you resurrect that side, what is the front side going to look like? You see? Now we've got a real issue.
That's a problem.
We got a real issue. Now what's it really going to look
We
like?
don't have a concept of that.
We have no clue. Because that is messianic consciousness. This over here is pure klipa. Does that make sense? So we have to be real careful when we say, well, when the Messiah comes, we're going to be blah, blah, blah. It ain't, T-Rex is not going to be much at all. T-Rex is going to run for the hills. So, Oh, I don't know about kosherness, but if it's the Nakash, it's probably not kosher.
Well, you made a statement here that interjects a whole lot of problems when you said that the backside is going to resurrect.
Yeah, everything will, because there's nothing here but God.
But is the backside going to resurrect as the backside, or is the backside going to resurrect as something, the backside that is done tikkun, or a restored backside?
Well, it's all it is a Mobius strip. It's all connected. So everything will resurrect. But if you see it from this side, but now, what if you see it from this side? You see what I'm saying? When it pulls itself inside out, what does that look like? Because that's what's got to happen. I came up with a good illustration of what is actually going on. You know when you go to a birthday party and you give you those things and you blow them and they go,
Yeah.
all right? That's time. God is blowing out that thing, so to speak, all right? But what's going to happen is, when it gets to the end, it's not going to roll back up. It's going to go inside and come back the other way. It's going to look completely 180 degrees invertedly different. So in other words, what is T-Rex going to look like inverted? That's the messianic, that's what we have to think.
I
like
can give you an
that.
example. I sew. So say I sew a sleeve, and I've stitched on the outside, and or maybe it's a tube. Let's say I've made a tube, and I have a tool where I can poke down there and get the bottom end and grasp it and pull it through. And so if it's a fabric that's got a print on the outside and it's got the faded,
Or wool on the inside.
or less defined colors on the inside. I've had it the wrong side out. I've had it wrong side out with the less shiny, the less bright design. And so once I pull it through, the bright side's the
Right.
bright fabric, and then the right fabric, and the seam doesn't show, is pulled out.
That's exactly what we're talking about. All right? And that would be like you sold a wool lining into a silk
Right.
print. Say it looks like Teresa's blouse there.
And you've got to turn it.
And all this is nothing but a black wool lining, and all of a sudden you pull it out. Well, it doesn't look anything like what you were just working on. So it's going to completely change, because everything here is basically it's not so much falling out as it's being projected, and we'll go through it. So we live on the tail of the Nakash. This is the Leviathan. So it's really not what is 4D. The question is, what is 3D? Because it's this that really doesn't exist, not that. That is more real than this. We just can't see what that is. Because the whole thing's unraveling like a curly fry.
Exactly.
Okay?
And we're convinced, and it's trying, and the backside is trying to convince us that this is
this
real.
is it.
This is the real.
reality. But it's not. All right? So, somebody knock.
That's me right now.
Oh,
I think.
all reality is unraveling backwards, not frontwards. So 3D only does what 3D can do. And then we have to try to do what 4D does. That's what the mitzvahs are. That's what all the sacrifices are. We're trying to connect 3D to 4D and get 4D, pull 4D here. And actually, what pulling 4D here does, it sucks 3D up inside it. And then there's no more 3D. It's just 4D.
On Mount Sinai, were they living in 4D?
Yeah, 5D.
5D.
Yeah. Because at that point, Asiya and Yetzirah and Berea were all in Atzilut as it was in the beginning. All right? So the Messianic era will look like this. It will be no thing. Because it's emanating out from no thing. And when everything returns to no thing, that is what it will be. But we have no idea what that is. Because the Klippa has blinded our consciousness of fathoming what no thingness would look like. But we know no thing exists.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing does exist somewhere. Because the angels are terrified of it.
Now, nothing is different from no thing, because because when you have no thing,
Yes.
you have no individuality. You have nothing separated out from
Yeah,
itself.
everything, it's all about separation. We read this, we read our prayer, that our sin does not bring separation between you and us. It's all about separation. He and his name, we're separating the name out. We're returning all that. That's the secret. All right? So the Messiah will be the individual. It will be us in 4D. That's what the Messiah is. It's us in 4D. And so the process of Messiah, the footsteps of the Messiah and the Messiah coming, it's here. And we are what's starting the inversion process. That's why Gentiles are so important. That's the secret of the Noga. Because where's all the spilled light out? It's all in the Gentile worlds. And so as soon as the Gentile world start emanating, reflecting the light that's emanating from the source back, the signal's returning. And then, shoot, that's what's going to happen. So it's not when the Messiah's going to come, it's where are we going to be when the Messiah comes. You see? It's going to be completely different. All right? But it's good. There's going to be a process.
When you say where are we going to be,
Yeah.
are you referring to
3D, 4D. No, I'm referring to
Gentiles, Earth,
No, I'm referring to cosmic dimensions.
human? Okay.
I'm referring to 3D, 4D, 5D. It's going to be,
Okay.
like Russell always says, it's connected to Sinai. It's going to be the Sinai experience.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
So
it's
we
going to be,
encompasses everybody that's living on Earth.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But it's going to be the ultimate consciousness of all consciousness. You know.
But when you got us as 4D, that's Adam.
Yes.
So that's the Messiah, but that's Adam.
Yeah, and it contains David, Moses, Elijah, all the everything, and the Noga.
Yeah.
It contains everything. That and that's the secret. What's emanating from the center? What's the center? It's just sowed. That's the reason for tzadikness.
That's why you can't point out like who is the Messiah. You can't point it out.
You can't point out who is the Messiah
because
it's a collectiveness of Adam. All right. So the only way to see Messiah is to let the Messiah see you. See, the question is not, I want to see the Messiah. The question is the Messiah seeing me? Because that's the signal returning. Follow me? Because all it is the eyes of Adam Kadmon seeing. All he is seeing. And Adam Kadmon seeing through Adam Harishon, it's seeing through Noah, he's just seeing the story in his divine thought. And when he's through seeing, done. That's why there is no such thing as sin. There is in 3D, but it doesn't exist anywhere else. You see? Because it never existed anyway. Let me turn my sound down here. So that's the secret to the whole deal. All right? So that's our overview. Now let's get into Torah. That was easy enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got that.
Okay. Now, let me see here. One of the funny things about the movie is to read all the critics. Which is more wrong? The critics or the movie?
I'm gonna say the critics.
The critics are, I'm going to use this term, wronger than the movie is. Really. Let the movie be wrong. But they're just as wrong. You know? They're as wrong as the whole thing. And there was some unbelievable Kabbalistic things in the movie that if you just let it be what it is, you know, that are way, way more right than anybody's critique. And that's the funny thing about the clip of the other side. Is the Christian view more right or more wrong than the movie?
It's more wrong.
It's more wrong. You know? So, I mean, just the pure fact that they believed there was a boat and they didn't have a boat in the movie they had an actual ark, that one thing right there would blow the whole thing out of the water. You know? And I was watching, I love watching Big Bang Theory. And one of the characters in there has a girlfriend, and they're both geniuses. And so he was letting her watch the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and with Harrison Ford in it, right? And after the movie was over, he's like, wasn't that the greatest movie ever? And she said, yes, except for the huge flaw of the whole thing, the huge writing flaw of the whole thing. And he goes, what do you mean? She goes, Indiana Jones has zero effect of the outcome of the movie at all. It didn't matter anything he did. The Nazis still would have found the deal. They still would have opened it up. They still would have. And so the whole show is him trying to prove to her that Indiana Jones was relevant in the movie. And they couldn't come to a conclusion at the very end of the movie that he had any relevance. And if you apply that to the entire Christendom world, all they're trying to put, they always try to put Indiana Jones into the story. And if you look at it from that point of view, it looks like Indiana Jones is the hero. He has zero effect in the movie. So I was kind of I try to look at things and put them together and say, okay, how can we use this and see this in another part? Now,
Well, I've got a question there. Wasn't he a catalyst?
Indiana Jones? No.
No.
Watch the movie again.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Watch the movie again, and you will realize they would have found the amulet. They'd have found the Well of the Souls. They'd have found the Ark. They'd have taken it to the deal. They'd have opened it up, and they'd all got killed, and the Ark would have been fine, just like it always was. There was absolutely nothing that Indiana Jones did in the movie. All right. So let's go forward.
Is that kind of like Jesus?
Exactly. Thank you for understanding the metaphor. All right. Now, we must study. Last time we talked about the raven, and he sent out the raven, and it kept going and returning until the waters dried upon the earth. Remember that? We went through that with the hashmal and all this, and that the raven is an aspect of the nakash, the raven is an aspect of the gubarot, this and that and the other. Okay, so this week we're going to discuss the dove. And it says, then he sent out a dove from him to see whether the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove could not find a resting place for the sole of his foot, and returned to him to the ark. For the water was upon the surface of all the earth. So he put forth his hand and took it, and brought it, and brought it to him to the ark. He waited again another 7 days, and sent it out, and sent out the dove from the ark. And it came back to him in the evening. And behold, an olive leaf, it had plucked with its bill. And Noah knew that the waters had subsided from upon the earth. Then he waited again another 7 days, and sent the dove forth. And it did not return to him again. Now, when I first read this, I have a glaring problem. Does anybody? I'll just read the first two lines again, and somebody tell me what the glaring problem is. He sent out the raven, and it kept going and returning until the waters had dried from upon the earth. Then he sent out a dove from him to see whether the waters had subsided upon the face of the ground. What's the problem?
Dried and subsided?
Okay. Well, I'm going to read it again.
The switch between the raven and the dove?
Was sent until the waters had dried, but we have no indication that the waters had dried.
All right, you're getting closer. Let me read it again. He sent out the raven, and it kept going and returning until the waters had dried from upon the earth. Then he sent out a dove from him to see whether the waters had subsided upon the face of the ground.
Oh, I see what it is. He's saying when he sent out the raven, he sent out the raven till the waters dried, and then he sent out the dove to see if it happened.
Yeah, but if he sent out the raven
Until it happened.
and the waters were dried, then why in the world would he have to send out a dove to see if the waters had dried?
Because you can't trust the raven.
Well, the raven didn't.
What, Russell?
You can't trust the raven
Why not?
because it's the backside.
He's a carnivore.
Because it's the backside. That's it. You can't trust. If you hire two people to work for you, and one's a convict, and one is a tzaddik, and you send them both on a mission, which one are you going to trust to tell you what's going on?
I don't know. I hired 2 Jehovah's Witnesses and they wore me out.
I said a tzaddik. I said a tzaddik. All right. So,
I don't know what.
Come on,
Okay,
Jacob and
John.
Caleb.
the raven, he doesn't come back. Because, one, he was sent and prepared for a mission. That mission was going to be Elijah. Okay? Now, the Ramdu says that this is an aspect of the Hug principle. Guvarot, Hasidim. Hasidim, Guvarot. Raven, dove. It always has to be there.
Okay.
All right? Anytime things are going and coming, running and returning, this is the aspect of the Guvarot. And so as long as it was coming in, going out, running and returning, Noah knew that there was din still in the world. That the din was still in the world. All right? Even still, the tzaddik did not want to take a sign from the Guvarot, as Russell said, from the other side. The dove, however, is Hesed, from the side of Hesed. Now, let's read what it says here. Here's the clue. He sent out the raven. But it says, then he sent out the dove from him.
It's not his Hesed.
It's his Hesed. He just sent the raven out.
Because he probably didn't have
What's he doing?
Klippa.
What's he doing? He is Adam. He's the Yesod of Adam. He's working on this thing, and the thing he has to do is get the Guvarot out. Because that's where the problem lied. So he sends the raven out, which is the aspect of the Guvarot, the aspect of the Nakash, and it kept running and returning, building the outer rim of the Hashmal, the Tohu, the Noga that we know of, that is in all the din, because the din is in the Tohu. So, because Noah is Adam, he sends that Hesed out. What does it do? He sent it out to mitigate the Tohu, the din. Alright? So, because the dove was from him, a piece of him, so to speak. Because the him is good. And he did not want to allow any of him to go out while there was still din. But the hour required it. And he did it against his will. But because the dove is rooted in Hesed, no din could attach itself to it. So he knew what he was doing. What did he give? He gave the raven its portion. Scapegoat. This is the scapegoat thing. He gave the raven its portion. And he was doing tikkun for Adam, who is in him. Alright, so he's fixing all these things. And it says, it did not find a place. Why did the dove say it did not find a place? Because it's all still Klippa. There's no place for Hesed. Because what is he trying to do? What is Hesed trying to do? Find the vessel. Find a Malchut. Find a Nukva. Find
Isn't he going to mitigate something? I mean, if
yes.
Hesed is going out,
Yes,
to
but
mitigate
it has to have a coordinate to put its feet. It's Malchut. It's trying to reestablish above and below. All right.
Okay.
So, because only the Guvarot fell out of Adam in the garden, no Hesed fell out. All the Hasidim and all the Hesed is still there. Only Guvarot fell out. Alright? Now, it says, then he sent out the dove from him to see where the water ships subsided on the face of the ground. But the dove could not find a resting place. A place of union. Could not find a resting place. We know, and he rested on the seventh day. What? Because there was a completion there. There was a Shabbat. So the dove couldn't find a resting place for the sole of his feet. The sole of his feet is the Malchut of Malchut. Okay? So see, he's reestablishing the whole thing here. You know, the ark's sitting down, you know, which is the supernal Malchut. So, and he's sending aspects of this Hesed out into the lower realms, so to speak, to find a resting spot.
So when you're saying he's doing the whole thing, you're talking about the whole Ma, the whole 45, the whole that whole.
Well, he's reestablishing.
Serampin?
He's reestablishing Zah and Nook is what he's doing. All right, because we know his sons, you know, and his sons' wives, and Noah and the ark. Everything is, and now he's sending aspects out. So let's say that's absolute. He's sending aspects out into Berea, aspects in Yersira, aspects in because it's coming back to rest from the mountains, you know, from the mountains, and the water subsided from the mountains, and there's dry ground on the earth, no face of the earth, which is Malchut. You see, you got to follow the formula of what it's talking about. All right. So the dove and resting. So what happens? No place for it to rest, and it returned to him, to the ark. Very odd wording here. It said, but the dove could not find a resting place for the sole of his feet, and returned to him, to the ark. It didn't say it returned to the ark. It doesn't say it returned to Noah. It said it returned to him, to the ark. Well, who is him?
Noah.
Yeah, well.
And he's at the ark, so is that?
Yes, because that is the place of union. Noah's in the ark. It's in union.
Okay.
It returned to him, to the ark. See what it's telling us there, what's going on with Noah and the whole ark experience. That Hesed aspect. All right? For the waters was upon all the surface of the earth. So there's still this din aspect going on. The dove alludes to the new Malchut. Now, does anybody know what dove is in Hebrew?
Yonah.
Yonah. Who is Jonah?
Jonah the whale.
Jonah is the dove. This is an aspect of Malchut. that Noah is sending out to Nineveh. And he's in a boat upon the waters. And the waters are rocking. You know? It's the same story.
Yes.
It's the same story. Because they use dove here, but they use the word Jonah there. It's the same word. It's the same word. It's the same formula iteration. There is no difference. So we can take this story, lay it on top of Jonah in the well, and bang. Alright? Now, Jonah is him. Jonah is Adam. The dove is Noah. That means Jonah is Noah and Noah is Adam. It's the same thing. Because it's his Hesed. It returned to him. It doesn't say it returned to Noah, it said it returned to him. Who is him? Depends on what layer you lay on it. What level. Okay?
So Jonah in the book of Jonah it's talking about Hesed as well.
Yeah.
Hesed is doing. Okay.
Yeah. But we can still say it's the journey of the soul. Well, this whole thing's the journey of the soul. The journey of whose soul? Adam's.
You're talking about Noah.
I'm talking about Noah and Jonah. It's the journey of the soul of Adam Harishon, which is only the journey of the soul of Adam Kadmon. The whole thing. All right. So he put forth his hand, because Noah is wise in all things, and he knew that all things are completed in 7 or 40 or 50. Everything is 7, 40, or 50. The 5 Guvarot, 5 Hasadim, times 10, 50. The Mems, 40. Lower, other Mems, 40. Alright? So, the soul of the embryo, 40. So he's working his formula here. Now, the generation of the flood, what caused the flood? If they'd just done this in a movie, it would have been the ultimate biblical pornography movie. But what caused the flood?
Spilling of the sea.
Spilling of the sea. All right. And what is how is that? Which is bestiality, homosexuality, all that kind of stuff. All right. So if they really wanted to Hollywood up the movie, they should have had it, where the men were having sex with the men, and they were having sex with the animals, and they had a donkey show over here, and they had all this stuff going on. Then that would have been realistic. Can you imagine?
Yeah, they think it's a modern movie.
Can you imagine what that would have done to the critics? All right. But if they would have shown an abortion clinic, it would even been better. Because what is spilling the sea?
Death.
Abortion.
Abortion. Oh, that's what abortion is.
It's what it boils down to. Because it's killing in the sea. All right? Killing in the sea.
Yes.
So spilling the seed is abortion. So, the generation of the flood has returned. Follow me? The generation of the flood is that was the first, it's the last. The end is looped in the beginning. It's here. It's all here. It's not there because it's unraveling itself from the backwards forward. It's really going from here to there. Different way of looking at it. We're the beginning of time. That's the end of time. It's different. Because are we looking from the outside in or the inside out?
Well, if it was traveling that way, I mean, because once it gets to there is no more time.
There
So
is-
it would be the end of time.
But let me explain to you what time is. That's our question. I'm glad you went there, Russell. Because Noah knows it's 70, 40, 50. It's 50 from Passover to Shavuot, right? We're in the counting of the Omer. This is the secret of Solomon's verse. And every time there is a season. Because the word time is spelled Zayin, Mem, Nun. Zaman. Z-M-A-N. Zaman. Zayin, 7. Mem, 40. And Nun, 50. The word time itself is Zaman, which is 7, 40, 50. So Noah is seeing the expansion of what we now call as time. Therefore, he sent out the Yonah, the dove, 7 days. Let's read it. Where am I at? So he put forth his hand and took it back and brought to him into the ark. He waited again another 7 days. And again he sent out the dove from the ark. Now this time he's sending it out from the ark. Not from him, from the ark. Why? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, he just completed that. So now he can send it out from the ark. All right? The dove came back to him in the evening. Why did the dove come back to him in the evening? I'll give you a hint. Think about the creation story. Because evening and morning, one day.
So he came back at the beginning of a new day?
It is a new day. It's a whole new creation. And evening, morning, one day, right? Because time goes, Jewish time goes from night to night.
So it's time for the Sabbath to start.
Well, no, it's just a whole new creation day.
Just a new beginning.
New beginning. But it starts at night. It don't start during the day. Just like when God created the earth. Right? Now, evening. Now, the olive is a let me back up. There's a in the Indian culture, in India, every house has a vase, and it's called, the male aspect is called Jonah or Yonah. The female is called Yonah. All right, so there's a vase, like a bowl, and then in the middle of it is a deal that stands up, and this is called the lingam, as in like a tongue, a lingam. All right, all it is Yesod and Malchut, the vessel. All right, so the feminine aspect is called Yonai in all these houses. So they have an aspect in India of this very same story as a feminine vessel. Jonah, Yonai. Now, it's one of their things that every house has. All right, back to evening. The olive represents union. And why does it represent union? Because it represents light and peace. Because from the olive oil is made. And it is the olive oil that lights the house. What's the house?
Nukva.
The nukva. All right? So the olive oil is like the male seed. and it lights the house. The female that is Malchut, that has no light of her own. Correct? So this is the female, and this is peace, because it's union, as we know. Because a little light removes a lot of darkness. So it came back in the evening with the olive leaf to let it's basically a sign of the supernal light that has burned out all the darkness. Because there is no such thing as darkness with that kind of light. All right? Now, so this signifies the burning out of the klipa. And evening, because this is the period of evening that there was this light, which meant to Noah that all the din had been subjugated. It's been subjugated, mitigated, so if you will. The din was subjugated, and this was done at night to show that there is light in the darkness. For this reason, the olive tree survived the flood. The only tree to survive the flood that they did not have to take with them. More than all the other trees, because there is supernal light concealed in an olive tree. This is why they do not die. Every other vine type thing dies and loses its leaves in the winter. Not an olive. It does not die in the winter. It was the only tree to survive the great flood. This was the sign to the tzaddik, Noah, of the mitigation, subjugation of all the din. But he knew that it wasn't complete. So, the next verse. And the dove came back to him in evening, and behold, an olive leaf he had plucked from its bill, with its bill. Noah knew that the waters had subsided upon the face of the earth. That's how he knew. Follow me? Then he waited another 7 days and sent forth the dove, and it did not return again. All right. This is crucial. So, he knew that the din might have been subjugated, but it wasn't nullified. It was just dormant. So he waited another 7 days. And when it did not return, he knew that the din had been completely nullified. Because he's got to be careful. He's a tzaddik. He's supernal yesod. He cannot remove himself from the ark, from his union, to go establish another ark, another malchut, if there's any klipa lurking around. Because it would attach itself to his yesod. And then he would be contaminated. So Noah is doing precision tohu removal.
Because that was the thing that happened to Adam in the first time.
That was what happened to Adam the first time. So he's got it going on, with what he's doing for sure. Now,
why didn't the dove return for its mate?
because the dove is the hesed. All right, its mate.
I know,
But
were they the two clean animals? Were they the two clean birds that had?
fine, let it be their two clean animals, but where they are, there's no bifurcation. There's no duality. You see what I mean?
Okay.
It's let it. It's all it is Adam and Eve, and the Nakash and Lil. So we have the raven worried about his wife, and we have Noah worried about his wife. The dove is only an aspect of Noah.
Okay.
All right. So he's sending this Hesed out, and his Hesed returns. So when his Hesed doesn't return, then he goes with his Hesed. And he takes his family, then that's the next verse. And he and his family went out. So don't look at it as a bird. Look at it as a Hesed, a Hasidim aspect of Noah. Okay?
That's because in what you're saying, in the ark, everything was one.
Yes.
So there was no separation. It didn't have to return back to it
Right.
in order to make it complete.
No, it went as the Hesed went forth. Everything went forth. Once all the klipa had been nullified, and I'll read this and it will explain it much more. We okay, Russell?
Yeah.
A little bit left here, then we'll be done. This is part of Noah seeing into the world. The olive leaf is Noah himself. The olive leaves are bitter. The sages say that the nourishment of humans are going to be bitter. And he plucked the olive leaf. This is the Holy One plucking the olive leaf. He plucked Noah. Right? You see what's going on here? Because at this point, the dove, that's the Hasidim of Adam Kadmon. Be honest with you. The dove requested before the Holy One, I would rather have food that is bitter from you than food that tastes like sweet honey, depending upon a man, as Noah in the ark. The word for plucked is the same word for nourishment. It means torn, plucked, or torn. So, you could say that it came back to him in the evening, and behold, an olive leaf, and it had nourished him, that he nourishes him with his bill. So in other words, the Hasidim is eating from the light itself, because it is Hasidim. And the world, so the inner is receiving inside the ark, sweet honey, blah 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 blah, but the outer is bitter. And the dove, the Hasidim of God, the Hesed aspect of Noah, first gets rid of the den and the raven. So he sends out the dove, and when the dove returns with the olive leaf, it's a symbol of nourishment that's going to take place outside a hermetically sealed thing, that it's going to be bitter. But Noah comes back and says this: the secret of the matter was Yonah, the dove, was telling Noah that as much as you have taken care of me for a year, I would rather the Father take care of me outside of this situation. Because Jonah is the Malchut. That's the daughter. She's the Nukva. The daughter, is taken care of by the father. Right? Mm-hmm. Because Noah is Yesod. In the end, he is still flesh. Because he's the part of the Father that's hanging out. This mixes good with evil. It is good it is good for the Jonah, the dove, to be with Noah, even if it's bitter, because it's coming from the pure source. So when Noah saw what she could be with the humans, the tzaddiks outside, it was just as good as it was inside with the supernal tzaddik, who was Noah. And it did not return. So what's going on here? He's establishing the Malchut. And she, the dove, that's the Shekhinah, is speaking with him. And she's saying, well, I would rather let it be bitter, let it be sweet. What's he saying? Noah's saying, outside of the supernal source, it's bitter. But it's coming from the same source. So what he's doing is he's establishing the tzaddik on the earth once again. And the malchut on the earth once again. So what we'll see next week, and now God spoke to Noah. All right? It says, and it came to pass in 600 year, in the first month, that the first month the waters dried up on the land. Noah removed the covering of the ark. He removed the covering of the ark.
Circumcision.
And look, and behold, the surface of the ground was dried. And in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was fully dried. God spoke to Noah. He's speaking now. What aspect? The mouth. 52. Because here's the concept. Listen to this. Listen to this. God doesn't have a mouth that he can speak. God doesn't have a nose that he can smell. And God doesn't have ears that he can hear. And he doesn't have eyes that he can see. Yet, he sees, he hears, he smells, he speaks. And he saw the corruption of the earth. And he heard their cry. And he smelled the sweet aroma. And he spoke. Anytime you hear those words in Torah, don't think of it as God's hearing you. Think of it as, oh, the ears, oh, that's Sag. That's the 63 name. That's Elohim. Oh, God saw? Oh, that's Ab. That's a 72. Oh, God smelled? Oh, that's Ma. That's the light of the nose. Ma's 45. That's Adam. Oh, God spoke? Oh, that's Ben. Oh, that's the Shekhinah. You see? You see? Because there's no way to describe God in 3D. So we have to use something that we know, eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. But we also know what it is in his name. Because we understand the names. So here, if God spoke, he just established the new Malchut, the new 52, and guess what? God spoke. It's the Shekhinah. It's the Elohim. It's the feminine aspect. Right? And then we're going to find out Noah built an altar to Hashem and made a sacrifice. And Hashem smelled the aroma. Malchut, Zeranpin, the Shekhinah, he and his name, the Nukva. He's reestablishing everything. Now, kasha question. Here, we'll end with this kasha question. The kasha question is: Adam built an altar. Noah built an altar and sacrificed on it. He did a sin offering. Because a sin offering is a burnt offering. Alright? With fire. Because the fire is the Gevorot, the fire is the passion of the female. The lower. The passion. And the smoke touches the substance and it makes smoke. And that smoke is that's her perfume from the passion of the union that he smells. Right? And then he's appeased. Zah. Because Zah's the one that can get pretty hot under the collar and mess with his woman. So then he's appeased. So, if a sin offering must be with fire, then what kind of offering was Jesus?
Not a sin offering.
Not a sin offering. So that blows that one out of the water. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the stuff that's going on with the altar because we're fixing to run into it. All right? And what you're going to find is we have a huge kasha question here with what is sin? Where is sin? He didn't sin. It was perfect.
Yeah, but that whole
The din was gone. So why did he do it? Why did he do it? He knows exactly what he's doing. What's he doing? Where is this spot? What is this spot he's establishing? What is he trying to do?
He's trying to circumvent sin and Malhut.
Well, he's putting it all back together, obviously. He's putting Zah and Nuk. He's making the whole thing. Malhut and Yesod. But we'll find out next week that once you understand what a sacrifice is, it makes the other deal over there look ridiculous because of what is going on with a sacrifice, what it's doing and what it's for. And this is why men love to smell their women. That's why women spend hundreds of thousands of dollars across the globe, millions of dollars on perfume to smell good for their man. That is the sacrifice. That's how it is in 3D. So, it will change everything the way you see and think about what's going on. And it has to be done on the altar. It's specific. And sometimes there are flour offerings, meal offerings. Sometimes there are bird offerings. Sometimes there are mid-range animals. Sometimes there are big animals. What are they doing? They're working up the spherotic structure.
Got to be doing some type of union.
Yeah, they're doing a zivug. It's all it is a great big zivug with the spherotic structure wherever they're working for whatever they're doing. It's not they're killing the animal in their place. They're using the extremities of the garment of the body of Adam because that's what's fallen out. As soon as you understand sacrifice, and then you understand what David says, he does not desire your sacrifice, he desires your praise. It's emanating from Malchut, which is the altar, which is the incense. It depends on where you are looking from. You know? And why is it the animals? Because it's the nefesh. It's what's got the most klipa on it. It's never a human. That's ruach. You can't kill a human as a sacrifice and it get away with sin because sin doesn't attach to the ruach to begin with. So once you understand all these facets, then it completely pulls the lid off of the whole sacrificial system, because Passover was to get you out of the klipa, out of the tohu, to get you to the Torah so that you could do the mitzvahs so God could forgive you on Yom Kippur. There is no forgiveness of sin on Passover. Period. It's removing yourself out of the klipa. Pulling out the nitzot. You know? But the klipa would like you to think that it can save you. Because that would be just the opposite of where you would be headed. So, the Torah is amazing and the Sage are amazing. We'll see you next week. with the continuation of Noah.